Hey y'all, I hope you can hear me. I'm a little bit late today, so I apologize. Took my daughter to karate, so got back a little bit late, but I am on now. So hey everybody, thank you for joining. Welcome. Let me know y'all can hear me. Hi Elizabeth, I see your question already. So let me know that y'all can hear me. So if you can hear me, type 1 in the comments. If you can see me, type 2. I think you should be able to hear and see me, but I just like to make sure in the beginning. And also, let me know. Let me see. Before I start talking, let me make sure. I don't see any responses yet. Can y'all hear me? Nope, I don't think you can hear me. Y'all should be able to hear me now. So, what I was saying was, if you can hear me, type 1. Yep, I see it. Okay, Becca, thank you. Thank you, Becca. And I see Ramia and Tajana, Khalil, Crystal. Hey, Crystal. How are you? I sent you a text message a while back. So I'm waiting to hear from you, Miss Crystal. I will text you later today. We need to catch up. Brienne, Oladuni, I see you, Nina, Elizabeth, Sal, Michael, Jade. Hey, everybody. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining. Courtney, I see you too. Thank you so much. And so now that I know y'all can for sure hear and see me, let me know where y'all are joining me from. Alexandra, thank you for letting me know. I see you're on YouTube. I do get a few YouTube people. I like to put it on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook, but come on over and join us on LinkedIn. That is the place to be, especially if you want to get in this field. So, Alexandra, if you do not have an account, please create one. Kimberly, I see you too. I see your question. We have a long list of questions still from before, so I probably won't get to yours today, but for sure next time we should be able to get to it. So definitely, if you have questions, please go ahead and put them in the comments because the questions y'all are rolling in. But let me know where y'all are joining me from. For those of you who don't know, I'm in North Carolina, Wake Forest to be exact. So, um, where are y'all joining me from? And I come on live every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay, Tiffany, I see you're in Columbus. Tajana, North Carolina. Ebony, Durham. Okay, right down the street. Courtney in Charlotte. Demaya in Charlotte. And if I pronounce your name wrong, let me know. Shalana Raleigh. Oh, it's a lot of people in North Carolina. Tiffany Ash. Hey, Tiffany. Tiffany is joining us from Clin Essentials. So as I mentioned them throughout, a lot of y'all have questions about that are relevant to their services and products. So if you have any questions, throw them in the comments and Tiffany will respond and connect with you directly. And we're also doing a live together August 23rd at 7 p.m. Eastern. So put that on your calendars as well. And she'll be available to answer a lot of your technical questions, CRA questions, and also give you a full live tutorial on all of the products, services, trainings that they offer. And I'm gonna show you a kit that they sent me quickly in the beginning. I know I'm a little bit late, so I promised y'all that I would show y'all that, plus go over a list of some of the alternative CRA titles. So we'll probably do that next week, just in the interest of time to get through the questions. But Tiffany's on, Tiffany Ashton. And then I see Dr. Sayali. Let me know if I'm pronouncing it wrong, from California, Foster City. Welcome. Alexandra, okay, I see you have LinkedIn. Okay, perfect. You just decided to join us from YouTube today. So that's cool. And Jay from Miami, Alexander from North Carolina, Adironki, I think that's how you pronounce your name, from Fulshire, Texas. Alpharetta Alexandra, Georgia, in the house. That's where I'm originally from. Rajamani from Rotherham, Frederick, and Alexandria, New Jersey. Ashley, Birmingham. Kaiser in Orlando. So we got people from all over, right? Tajana, I see and please let me know if I'm spelling your name wrong, Tajana. But I see your question too. So I'll grab everybody's questions and add them to the list. And I usually like to give people a few, some time to join, but I'm already late, so we might as well get started. They can always watch the replay, right? But please don't forget, put your questions in the comments. Any questions that you have, don't forget to add them to the comments. Today we're going to be starting with Candace Mitchell's question. I told y'all that was from the last time, but before we do that, I want to show you the kit that Clin Essentials sent me. So this is the box that it comes in. It's a really, really nice box. And it comes with a lot of different goodies. So for those of you who are already CRAs, or if you're a study coordinator, if you happen to be a PI or a site owner or something like that, and you're joining, this is free. This would be perfect for you. So they give you, it's like nicely packaged. I have it all kind of messed up in the box, but let me see if y'all can see. This side, it comes with like all the little stickies that I'm going to show you in a minute. And then you see they have a nice pen. It's very, very nicely packaged and wrapped, y'all. And like I said, Tiffany's going to be joining us live August 23rd. So mark that on your calendars at 7 p.m. Eastern. But this is like some of the, I don't know if y'all, let me see if y'all can see it. There's a glare. But here's what the stickies look like. So this one is prior to the next visit. And it has like that done box right here where you can check done, and it has space for notes. So this is just an example of what needs to be completed prior to the next visit. And you see it's color coded. So this is blue. And then there's a red one for protocol deviations. Same thing. It has like a title, the done box. So the study coordinator can mark done. The CRA can put extra notes here. purple one for please report to the IRBEC. And this is just an example of some of them, but they have quite a few. And then there's also a color code guide. So everything is color coordinated, and then they give you this wonderful guide. So it could be the CRA can carry them with them and then leave them on site, or vice versa. The site could provide these and then have one in the space for the CRA so that everybody knows what the color codes mean. But it essentially just saves you so much time, and it makes the process much more efficient and much more smooth. And then on top of that, they have these action item lists. And I don't know if you can tell, but essentially it has like the carbon copy underneath it. So as the CRA writes on it, then you can pull off the top copy and leave the white for the site and take the yellow with you, or vice versa. If for I don't know, Tiffany, you can let me know if you intended it for to be opposite, where the coordinators keep track of the action items. I don't know if some sites use it that way, but in my mind, it could possibly work the other way. And then to-do lists as well, for the CRAs. You can have a nice little to-do list that you can take with you. And then they also provide this nice little folder that you can take with you. And inside, they have a smaller version of the visit to-do list as well. So if you wanted to bring it in a smaller version, the same for the action items, a smaller version of those. And then you can bring along, a nice place where the stickies that I just showed you, they can be held like this. And you can bring along your most common ones. And I don't know if you can see, but for this one down here, it says, please complete. And it has like, date, header, initials, page number, patient number, signature, and then a space where you can write it in. So a lot of times you simply just need somebody to complete. And Tiffany says that, yes, it can be used for CRAs or lead CRAs or site directors to leave comments in preparation for the monitoring visit. So yes, Tiffany responded to that one. But essentially, a lot of times as CRAs, you have to rewrite the same thing a bunch of times, right? You just need them to complete something. So instead of having to keep writing that out, you could just leave one of these stickies, check the box, and you're done, and you're on your way. And it's color coded as well. So they automatically know that the orange means that they need to complete something. So I promise you guys, I would show you this. Somebody asked a question about tools, and that's what prompted this little, show and tell. So, like I said, Tiffany will be joining us on August 23rd, 7 p.m. That's a Tuesday. That's not our normal Monday time. And I wanted to give it an opportunity for a lot of people that join on Mondays are not CRAs yet. We do have some CRAs, but not a lot. So I wanted to kind of split it up so we could still have our regular Q&A and then have the people that are already CRAs or maybe site directors, study coordinators, what have you. They will be able to specifically ask those questions. So if you want to know more about Clin Essentials, they not only have those wonderful products, but they also have, it's essentially a hotline number where they offer services for people that has any questions about anything that you could possibly think of in the clinical research field. You can schedule a call and they will answer those questions for you. So if you're in an emergency type of situation, you have a closeout visit, you haven't been properly prepared, or you're on site and you have a monitoring visit, or something is coming up and it's like you can't get a hold to, yes, it is a great product, Sadaf, or and let me know if I pronounced your name wrong, but if you have an emergency situation, maybe you can't get in touch with a colleague and you don't feel comfortable bringing it to your study manager, your line manager, that Clin Essentials is the place that you want to go to so that you can have total privacy, non-judgment, no judgment-free zone, and you can ask all of your questions, get the help that you need without feeling, self-conscious about it. And Tiffany Ashton is the person that you can reach out to for that. So, and again, don't forget, August 23rd, 7 p.m., she will be joining me live as well. So let's see. I want to go ahead and get started with the question. And then, like I said, next week I will still, I know I told y'all I would go through that list of other titles that they hide. Okay, perfect. I said it right. I know I told you I would go through the other list of titles that they kind of hide these positions in. So we'll do that next week. But on to the question. So the first question that we have on the running list, again, put your questions in the comments because the list is long, y'all. Candace Mitchell, her question is she's been in research for about 16 years and she aspires to be a CRA, but she has no degree. Have you seen anyone overcome this issue? Do you think class would benefit me? Is becoming a CRA possible for me? So, first of all, Candace, yes, it is definitely possible. If you don't have a degree, it's absolutely possible. It's more challenging, but there are companies out there that will hire you without the bachelor's degree, especially nowadays, considering that there's so many open positions and there's like, it's just been like a frenzy with people hiring people and trying to retain people. And it's a lot more lenient, I would say. And I know some of y'all are probably thinking, like, well, I still haven't got my chance. But it's a lot more lenient. So yes, Candace, it is possible. However, I always like to add that with the caveat of, if you are able to find a company that will let you get in with just that without a bachelor's level degree, it will more times than not anyways, especially once the industry kind of catches up with like this rush of trials that's being like thrown into the pool. It might prevent challenges in terms of promoting and taking your career to the next level. So I always say that if you're able to get that role, of course, go ahead and take it. But I would still, if you were, directly coming to me as one of my coaching clients, I would still recommend that you get a bachelor's level degree, just because it's gonna limit how far you can go in your career. It's gonna limit what type of moves and how you can navigate the system. Is really going to put a limit on you. And that's what you do not want when it comes to taking control of your career, owning your career. You don't want any limits. And unfortunately, that piece of paper is one of them. But don't worry. Don't feel like you need to get some, engineering degree or some super hard degree, right? You can do an online program. You can do part-time and you can get it in communications. Not to say that communications is easy for all of you communications major, but you can do something that, is a little more manageable and not like, these super, tech savvy, science savvy degrees that a lot of people feel like they have to get in order to get into this industry. It's not true at all. So I would still recommend that you get a degree. And then also, for those of you out there who are in the same boat, I would even, Candace, challenge you to go ahead and start the process now, because sometimes if they just know that you're in the process of getting your degree, even though you haven't completed it, you can give them an anticipated year. And that in and of itself will help you get into that position. So it's unfortunate. I know a lot of people, they hate it when I say that. That's not the answer that y'all want to hear, right? And I get it. I totally get it. However, I don't like to see y'all in positions where you aren't able to completely own your career and take control and have that power. And not having a bachelor's level degree kind of puts you in that boat. Now, I'm not saying you got to get all these advanced level degrees, but at least the bachelor's level degree I always recommend. So hope that answers your question, Candace. If not, let me know if you have any other questions. So somebody from YouTube asked this question. Their name is kberry1249 Sal. And the question was clinical research associate versus coordinator. So essentially, what's the difference between the two roles? Now, this could take up actually a whole session. And I might have to, I'll see, I might do like a separate thing of in the beginning on another episode or another session or maybe even a podcast. But just to kind of answer your question quickly and briefly here. So the main difference I would say is that the roles that each position takes on within the study. So the CRA role is more so like the liaison between the sponsor and the site, the people that are actually conducting the study, seeing the patients, collecting the data, right? And the CRA role typically is from the sponsor, and sponsor meaning drug companies, biotech companies, pharma companies, for the people that don't know what sponsor means, or the CROs, contract research organizations, for those of you who don't know what that means, such as Syneos, IQVIA, PPD. Those are which is now Thermo Fisher, but those are CROs. So those are typically where you see the CRA positions. Now, you might find the title CRA for some positions that are within institutions, the larger institutions. They do have those titles, but they're not the traditional CRA roles that you would think of. They're a little bit more different. They're a little bit more in-house. They're almost kind of like study coordinators roles in a way, like a combination. You might do some traveling, but most of the studies are like within that institution, so to speak. For the most part, there's exceptions to every rule, right? And I see all the questions that are still coming, so keep them coming. And so when we're talking about the CRA role, we're strictly talking about the regional traveling CRA role, that the traditional regional traveling CRA role. So the traveling will also be one of the major differences between study coordinator and CRA. Now, not to say that there aren't some traveling study coordinator roles, because there are. There are literally some traveling study coordinator roles where you'll go from different places and actually serve as a study coordinator, but you travel. And then there's the traditional study coordinator role where you stay on site, but then you might need to travel for an investigator meeting or something like that. So there's that, small percentage of travel, but you may still travel within that role as well. So also another difference is study coordinators are going to be seeing patients depending on the site, because some sites do divide up their study coordinator responsibilities. So you have a greater potential to see the patients, whereas as a CRA, you will never be seeing patients. Again, I say that, but then I always have to say, typically speaking, because I do know of some instances where there was some, IP, investigational product, for those of you who don't know, and that is the drug that's being tested or the product that's being tested. But there was some issues with a particular study with the drug and infusion specifically. And so they had the CRA to come on site when the patients were being dosed, meaning treated, infused with the drug, so that they could watch the process and make sure that it was being done per protocol. And that's like those one-off type of situations, but it wasn't like a continuous thing where they came and they watched every single patient. They just wanted to make sure they were getting the process right, the administration process right. So there's those one-offs, but typically speaking, you will not be seeing patients as a CRA. Another thing is that, so from the site perspective, as a study coordinator, from the site's perspective, you're only focused on data information for that one particular site. Whereas as the CRA role, you're going to have multiple sites. You might even have multiple studies, multiple sites that you're responsible for. As a study coordinator, you can have multiple studies that you're responsible for too, but all the information that you're going to be privy to will be for that one particular site. What else? People like to bring up the point that the salary difference between the two, although there are some study coordinator positions, depending on the institution, where the income can get quite high, especially if you're looking at those lead study coordinator roles, or if you're looking at the traveling study coordinator role. So keep those in mind. And then there's also some study coordinator positions within this on the CRO side. And hi, Matt, I see you. Your question. And then someone else says LinkedIn user, I see yours as well. But so there are some study coordinator positions on the CRO side as well, and they are slightly different. Typically, it's for the phases, the inpatient phase studies, meaning like it's not like the patient comes in for their visit and then they go home. They literally stay there at the facility for the length of, they need a hospital stay for the entire time that they're in the study, essentially, or for the majority of it anyways. So there's those type of study coordinator positions out there that are from the sponsor side too. There's a lot of different, positions out there, y'all, that you don't really think about in the traditional sense. So that's why I always go back to the fact that that you really have to look at the job description, and you really have to look at the responsibilities to really kind of decipher what the role is truly about. You just can't go based off the title. So that's just like a quick summary. And if I'm not sure if K-Berry 1249 is on, but if that didn't answer your question, let me know, and then I'll see what I can set up so that we can go more in depth. And then K-Berry 1249 also had another question. Is the information you're giving to CRA, can it be applied to clinical research coordinator? Yes, it can. So all of the advice, most of the advice anyways, other than the specific CRA questions, all the career development advice can be applied ultimately really to any industry. But since we're, clinical research focused here, yes, it can be applied. And I do recommend, I use the same strategies for all of my coaching clients who are trying to get their first coordinator role or their first CTA role. We use the same strategies. It's nothing different. You still need these same things that I'm talking about. It's the same approach. So yes, it can be applied to get in your first position in the industry, period. And then the next question is from Tiffany Leonard. She said, how can I grow my career in the clinical research? She says, as a new CRA, how can I balance my timing to keep a work-life balance? And she's a new CRA interested in learning how to apply SOPs to her everyday task. Difference with SDR versus SDV. So Tiffany, I hope you're here today because Tiffany Leonard, I hope you're here today because Tiffany Ashton would be a good person to go to in terms of their clinicessential services and products. So that's one resource I would like to connect you to. And then also, if you check out Daniel's the CRA coach, the ASAP CRA course, that's another good one in terms of keeping that work-life balance, staying stress-free, and getting a really organized management system going, his course. And right now, if you use the code, I think it's, I don't want to get it wrong. Let me check right quick. I think it's CRA Solution. He gave me a code, y'all, so y'all could get 20% off if you enroll. And I'll put the link in my in the comments so that you can use that link to directly go and get this code. So yeah, I'll add that 20% off. And yep. I'll add that, but it's the CRA coach, the ASAP, the ASAP CRA course. I'll add that, but that's another good way to stay organized and to help advance your career. Getting a mentor, always recommend mentors, and you can have more than one. I recommend mentors. I recommend sponsors, which there's a difference between sponsors and mentors. And my mentor is actually the first one that Karen Cra, she actually is the first one that I didn't even know what sponsors were, but basically it's people that can advocate for you and represent you and speak well about you when you're not even in the room. So if somebody is talking about a particular project and they're like, who can we get to help us with this project? And they're like, I know a great person, Tiffany Leonard, she's a great person. So that's a sponsor. So you want to have not only mentors, you want sponsors, you want advocates, coaches, career coaches, y'all. I know a lot of people mention, the investments, I don't have the money. And I'm not saying this because I'm like, I want you guys to work with me. I have a limit, so I can only take on so many people at one time, right? But I still recommend you seeking out career coaches just because it did wonders for my career. All the people that I know that have had tremendous success, they had these things that I'm telling you about. It's hard to know what you don't know and see what you can't see, right? But success leaves clues. So if you find somebody that is already where you want to go, one of my philosophies is, why reinvent the wheel? I never reinvent the wheel, right? If somebody's already done it, you just follow the blueprint. And that's where having all these people as a part of your network, as a part of your team, that's what it does for you. And so there's lots of different ways that you can acquire these the people that I'm mentioning, and maybe we need to do a session on that at some point. I do have podcast episodes coming up about networking and how you can create this type of network, all the people, the advocates that I just mentioned. But that is another way, Tiffany, as well, that you advance your career. Also, communication, being vocal. You have to communicate to your manager, to your line manager, to your CTM, your project manager. Let them know what your goals are. And of course, the only way to do that is for you to be clear on your goals. So you need to take the time to sit down first, if you haven't already, and write down what your goals are. Where do you see yourself in a year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? Map it all out. What do you envision yourself from A to B? Do you still want to be on the road traveling? Do you want to be off the road? Do you want to be with a sponsor, a CRO? Do you want to live in a certain place? Do you want to do international travel or just national travel? Do you want to manage the people, or do you want to manage the study, or are you more behind the scenes and you want to be dealing with the budgeting and contracts? Do you want to switch from ClinOps and go over to drug safety or regulatory affairs? Like, you need to be able to answer these questions, because if you go to them with saying, hey, I want to, advance my career, and they start asking you these questions and you don't have the answers, then they're not going to take you seriously. So the first step is for you to get clear on your goals and clear on where you want to go. And the only way to do that, like I said, is for you to take that time to map out your brand, to figure out who you are. And that is a big component of what I focus on for my clients, is really branding yourself and marketing yourself and creating a career development plan. Those are the main pieces that will help you truly take control of your career and advance in the industry. So I hope that was helpful, Tiffany. If I did not answer your question, let me know. And then your other question about applying SOPs to everyday tasks. Again, find a mentor. It's hard to, advise you here, just because everybody's SOPs are slightly different. But I will say that one of the things that I used to do when I very, very first got started anyways, was I printed off the SOP. So if let's say it was an interim monitoring visit SOP, and I would print that off, I would take it with me and I would create my own checklist. Some companies already have a checklist that kind of mirrors the SOP. But if not, I would create my own checklist of things I needed to make sure that were done during the visit. And that helps me stay on track with the SOP. And then I also reached out to other monitors that were at the company, and I went over it with them. I had meetings prior to my visits. I went over it with them. People that were specifically on the study, the CTL, I went over with them. So it's really about communicating. And if you talk to people, people are nicer than you think, y'all. They want to help you out, because at the end of the day, we're a team, and you're only as great as your weakest member. So if you're struggling and you're not getting it done, then somebody's going to have to probably come and help you. God forbid you have to remonitor. And, there's a lot of moving pieces that ultimately it helps the entire team. If you're struggling, if you just raise your hand, speak up and say, hey, can you help me with this? Can you show me how to do that? And then if you don't feel comfortable, Tiffany, asking someone from your company or your team, that's where Clinicentials and their hotline service comes in handy, where you can take these questions directly to them, and it's purely confidential. So you don't have to worry about that at all. And then to answer your other question, the difference between SDR and SDV. So SDR, for those of you who are probably wondering, SDR is source data review, and then SDV is source data verification. And that is a big part of the CRA responsibilities. And so it ultimately kind of boils down, I don't want to say it like this, but checking a box. So we always have to review. You should always be reviewing. I know a lot of people don't, but all of the data in its entirety, all of the source documents. So some studies might have you only do 60% SDV, meaning that there is data inside of the EDC system, the electronic data capture system, that they want to be captured. They're going to use that data to compile that data and come up with an analysis at the end, right? To see whether whatever their primary, secondary endpoints are, to see essentially, is this a good drug or not for this indication. And so the verification part comes in, and that, let's say it's blood pressure, and they have blood pressure in the EDC system that they want to make sure you check. So you would look at the source document. It could be a medical record. It could be something that the site created and they filled it in, whatever that is, and you compare it to what they have entered into the system and you make sure it matches. If it matches, then you click the box and a check mark comes up in the box, and that means that you verified that particular data point, right? When you're looking at the source documents, whether that's the medical record or something a template the site created and they filled in the blood pressure, that is reviewing. That's the source data review. You're reviewing the document, right? When you check the box, that's when you're verifying that you reviewed it. Now, regardless of whether they say SDV is 60%, 80%, or 100%, you should always 100% review, right? So essentially, a lot of us go back and forth with saying it doesn't really matter because we still have to review all of the source documents anyways. Checking that box is like, it doesn't take it that much time, right? Literally, you click it and it puts a check mark in it. But the source data review, it should always be reviewed 100% just because that's going to give you the complete picture of what's going on. It's not just about transcription that did you put A here? Did you put A here? It's so much, monitoring is so much more than that. It's about, does the story as a whole make sense? It's about picking up on trends. It's about making sure that the little things aren't missed. Like, yeah, maybe the sponsor doesn't want you to capture inside the system whether the patient sat for 5 minutes before the blood pressure was taken or not, but per protocol the patient is required to sit for 5 minutes prior to the blood pressure being taken. So that would still need to be captured somewhere in source, although it will not be put into the data system. And the only way you would know that is if you reviewed all the source 100%, right? So you would still need to be reviewing and making sure, hey, did all these patients sit for 5 minutes prior to the blood pressure being taken? So that is the difference between SDV and SDR. And Tiffany, I don't know if you're on, but hopefully that makes sense. So let me know for anybody else that is okay. I see a lot of different questions coming through, but for anybody else that has any questions about SDV, SDR, let me know. That was a more complex question. And Tiffany, if you're on, it would be good for you to come on August 23rd. I also have Daniel coming y'all on August 30th, and then the CRA helper, Elizabeth, she will be coming on, let me check right quick, September 13th. So make sure you join on those dates too for people that, and those are Tuesdays, by the way. I wanted to still give y'all the Q&A opportunity, but the other dates that I just mentioned for August 13th, no, what did I say? August 23rd, the 30th, and then September 13th. Those are more so for people who are already CRAs. So, and feel free, aspiring CRAs, to join in too, because it's only going to help prepare you. But I just wanted to clarify. And then, so the next question comes from Natalie Benford. So Natalie's question is, I would like to know more about hiring trends. We see a lot of senior CRA, which requires 5 years as a CRA positions, but very little entry level. So the trends kind of depends on the industry trend at the time. So there's always some CRA1 positions typically floating out there, but sometimes more so than others. And so you kind of see like around springtime, I'll see like a lot more positions. Sometimes going into that fall time period, like this August, September, and then later in the year, around like that October, November timeframe, you'll see that too, because then they'll bring in people to start like in that, right at the beginning of the year, January 1. That's when I actually got hired for my position. I think the interview process started like in October and I was officially offered in November, I want to say, something like that, or maybe it was a little bit earlier than that, but nevertheless, so they can bring people in like at the beginning of the year. And so it kind of depends. It's not like a one black and white answer. But that's why you want to always be prepared. That's why you want to always be networking and putting yourself out there and truly making yourself visible online, most importantly offline as well, but definitely creating a strong online presence and brands, because that is how you don't have to worry about the trends, because you're always visible and you'll be seen whenever, positions pop up, and you won't even have to apply because the recruiters will reach out to you. So that's a good question. And then next question comes from Nina Stark, and her question is, are the in-house CRA roles harder to get without CT experience? I'm going to assume you mean clinical trial experience. I wouldn't say harder. And y'all, for those of you who might be new to, and I see all the other questions coming through. So Sal and Oladuni, I see your question. Well, no, I see your comment. And thanks to everybody who's helping each other in the comments. I really like to see that. That is beautiful. So Matt, I see you're helping out a lot of people in the comments. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. Tiffany, I see your question. And so, or comment rather. And so, back to Nina's question. So, is it harder? Y'all know, and for those of you who don't know, you will know that I am a big, that's one of the things that kind of separates me from a lot of the other career coaches, is that I do a lot of focus on mindset. And I don't know if Crystal is still watching, one of my clients. I'm not sure if any of my other clients are on either. But if y'all are, let the people know mindset is everything for us. That's where it all starts, in the minds. And so if you're coming into a situation looking for a job and you're already like, oh my God, it's going to be so much harder to get into this role if I don't have XYZ, or if I didn't do this, you got to let that train of thought go. Like, none of that is relevant for you. There will always be somebody that says this is harder or that is harder, but it's all relative, right? What might be hard for somebody else might be easy for you. So you can't even worry about what is quote unquote hard, right? Anything worth having in life will require some effort. So I always like to say it does require effort, but I don't like to use words like harder. So take that vocabulary out, Nina. But is it, does it require some effort? Absolutely. And Crystal said, yes, absolutely. That was key for me. Yes. Mindset is everything. So Nina, you have to shift your mindset and don't even think about it being hard. Just say that if this is what you want, if you truly want this position, then it's coming to you. It's on the way. It's only a matter of time. Don't focus on that. As long as you don't give up and you apply consistent principles, strategies that are effective. And to address the question directly, yes, it is possible to get an in-house CRA role without clinical trial experience. I know several people who have done it. Does it require you to kind of finesse the system a little bit more and be more and to be more, have more more clear message and to more clearly show the transferable skills? Absolutely. But that's kind of goes with any position really at this point, in the way that job searching in general is, especially until you have a particular set of skills or experience. So, and that's not to say that even once you have those set of skills or experience, I know some CRAs that are struggling to land positions, and they're hiring CRAs, experienced CRAs left and right. So you still have to be able to, sell yourself, tell your story, deliver your message, articulate it in a way that sells and that draws the right attention. So, you have to do that regardless. So I hope that answers your question, Nina. And then Tiffany Leonard, I see that you have another question that says, does in-house CRAs travel? Typically no, but I do know of some in-house CRA positions that occasionally, and a lot of times you might see this on the job description as well, they might just go ahead and include like 20% travel or 15% travel or something like that. Because there might be a chance, let's say, for example, where there's just like a lot of work to be done at a particular site. There's no other regional monitors to come out and help, and they might ask you to come and support the CRA and do a co-monitoring visit, for example. Or maybe even conduct your own visit if they really need somebody to get on site, and let's say the primary monitor is swamped with other visits and you're the only other person that they have because they can't find anybody else, then you might have to do that. But those are like one-off type of situations. And then so Nina Stark also had another question. So Her question is, are most CTA and CRC roles on site rather than remote? So I would say before COVID, yes, most were. However, and I see Nina, you're welcome. Yes. So for your next question, Nina, before COVID, the answer would be yes. Most of them were. But now I'm finding that there are more positions that are remote, more so the CTA positions than the study coordinator. But I have seen some remote study coordinators position as well. It also kind of depends on what the responsibilities are. Again, going back to the responsibilities versus the title. So some study coordinator positions are strictly data entry, and depending on how the site maintains their medical records and their source documents, sometimes that can be 100% remote if they're using EMR, for example. Sometimes it's regulatory study coordinator. And if the site is using an electronic ISF, an electronic binder, then all of their files are electronic. So that would leave room for that position to be 100% remote as well. So it depends, honestly. Before COVID, yes, most of the positions were on site. After COVID, it just kind of depends. It's kind of like, I would say, neck and neck now. And it also depends on the location too. And location means geographical location, but there are remote positions both for CTA, both for study coordinator, really all the positions, a lot of different positions in the industry now. They're offering a lot more remote opportunities, not just for the CRA, the CTL, the project manager type of roles. So I hope that answers your question, Nina. If not, let me know. And then next question comes from Marcella Costa. Can I recommend some courses? So I'm going to take that question as recommending courses in general for people that are just trying to get started in the industry, and then also CRA. So people that are just getting started in the industry in general, I always say GCP if you have not done a GCP training. And City offers a really good GCP training. And then also GCP Finding, they actually offer a free training. And then they also offer a lot of other great trainings as well. So I would recommend City Training. You can go there, and that's CITI, and then GCP Findings. And then if you're looking for a study coordinator course, I believe it's called Study Coordinator Academy. Don't quote me, but the clinical trials guru, Dan Sfera, he has a really great study coordinator training program. And then also he has CRA Academy. That's for people that are looking to transition into the CRA space. He does the technical training, and it's a more lengthy program. And it's I believe he offers a remotely now, but then he also offers you can come in on site and do like an internship. But it's I believe it's live. Don't quote me. And then the CRA helper, Elizabeth Waddell, she has a self-paced CRA training. And it goes through from A to Z, all the technical aspects of monitoring the responsibilities, the regulatory guidelines, things like that. And hers, like I said, is self-paced, 100% remote. She's available if you have some questions. And that's the CRA helper. It's the CRA foundation training. So that's another good resource. I've mentioned Clinic Central several times in their hotline, reaching out to Tiffany Ashton. There are also a couple of other courses that I have my clients to use. But it's all very tailored and custom. So my thing is that I don't just recommend people to just go out and take a bunch of courses. I always do an assessment analysis of where you are, and we identify your specific gaps. And then we go from there in terms of what you specifically need, because just going and taking a bunch of different courses, no worries, Nina. I know what you meant. There's no need to taking a bunch of different courses that's ultimately not going to help you reach your goal, right? Of course, the additional information is great. You have more knowledge under your belt. That's wonderful. But if you have a specific goal, my goal is always to help you reach that specific goal. And, taking all these different courses and things are not always the best route. So you had to really sit down and think about, okay, where are my gaps? Where am I missing it at? And how do I fill these gaps? And that will tell you exactly which types of trainings and courses that you should take. Anybody else that has any other recommendations, please put them in the comments. I know I'm missing some other things. And like I said, there are some very specific trainings that I recommend for my clients. So if you want to learn more about those, you can reach out to me directly. And what else? Of course, I already mentioned Daniel's course, the ASAP CRA course. So that's another one. And then we're running low on time. I have a hard stop. I have a call at 8, but I want to get through at least one more question. So let's Jamie Steve. So your question is, do you need to have experience in multiple therapeutic areas? I work in psychiatry and mainly work on postpartum depression clinical trials. And the answer to that, Jamie, is absolutely not. You could just have that one therapeutic area experience and you will be perfectly fine. Don't feel like you need to have a long list of TAs in order to be qualified. And having psychiatric experience, postpartum depression clinical trial experience is awesome. That's amazing. That's excellent. There's a lot of people that don't have any of that experience, right? So you are right where you need to be. And that experience is great. I just always recommend that whatever experience that you are currently in, that you just want to milk it and get as much experience as you can. Don't just depend on the standard training that they give you, the standard information that they say you have to complete, right? You want to go beyond that, outside of that. Ask the questions that they don't expect for you to ask, right? Ask the questions that are outside of your role so that you can get big picture, not just, okay, this is the task I have to do. I have to do, take this document and put it in this file. Ask why you're taking this document and putting in this file. What is this file for? Big picture. What does this file mean for the entire study? How will this ultimately help the sponsor get this drug approved? That's what I mean when I say really milk the experience and really take advantage of it and get to know every aspect that you can. When it comes to you, Jamie, and the fact that you're working with postpartum depression, take some time if possible. I know the PIs are busy. The nurses are busy, but take some time if you can to speak with the PI. See if you can get on their schedule with the PA if you have a physician's assistants, with the research nurses. They love, most of them anyways, they love to talk about this stuff. So take some time and sit down and dig a little deeper and ask them, what are some of the other medications that are currently out there on the market? What are some of the issues with those medications and how can we possibly improve them? How do they rank this particular study with this particular drug in comparison to what's out there on the market currently? And what would they recommend if they could come up with, a magical drug that could help these patients? What are some of the side effects that are preventing patients from taking these drugs? What are some of the challenges in terms of administration that could be more beneficial? Is it a pill? Is it an injection? Is it IV? Would it be more helpful if it was something that is aerosol? So that's what I mean when I say really take advantage of whatever experience that you're in, and you really want to milk it and get the most that you can, because it's not about quantity, y'all. It truly is quality. So Jamie, for example, if you take this experience and you really go deep to learn everything that you can, you will be in a much better position than say somebody else who stays at the surface and they have 6 TAs, and TA meaning therapeutic area experiences. So we are out of time for today. Next week, we will start with the PICA and the question, are there any other certifications that helps recruiters hire us? So we'll start there. And as always, I thank everybody for all of your questions. I thank y'all for joining me. And I really appreciate it. We've been having more and more people. So like I always say, get your questions in, y'all. The list, we're getting through the list, but as I get through it, then we get more questions. But for those of you who are interested in getting help directly from me, working with me, hire me as your coach, you can visit aspiringcra.com and schedule a call with me from there. You can also learn more about my coaching program and what it entails. And then for those of you who are just looking for more information, check out my podcast. And every Tuesday we have interview, typically speaking, every Tuesday anyways, when there's no hookups, because I've had some podcast hookups, but every Tuesday we have an interview episode with a guest who is still a CRA or they were a CRA at some point and they share their journey. And that gives you a lot of insight into the different paths that people are taking to get into the field, because it's all different. As you check out the podcast, you'll see that there's not really like that one, two stories that are like similar. Like, yeah, there might have been a couple people that started as a study coordinator, but how they got into it and what they did next is totally different. So check out the stories. And then on Wednesdays, I try to give you guys a solo episode and go deeper on some of the topics that you guys bring up here. So if you have any guests that you want me to bring on, any topics that you want me to cover, I literally do it for y'all. So shoot me a message. Let me know who you want me to bring on, what you want to hear, what you want me to go deeper in, and I will make it happen for you. But other than that, as always, I thank you guys so much and you're welcome for all the people that said thank you. But other than that, I thank you guys so much for joining me here today. And I cannot wait to see you all next week.